The story broke just after sunrise, shaking both the streets and the internet at the same time. Reports started flooding in from Gwinnett County, and the words in the police statement made it clear this wasn't just another argument gone too far. This was a killing, according to officials. Officers from the South Precinct were called out around 7 p.m. to the 3900 block of Lee Road in Snellville after a frantic 911 call reported a domestic dispute and shots fired. When they arrived, they found a man lying outside a residence, bleeding heavily from multiple gunshot wounds. Emergency crews from Gwinnett County Fire Rescue rushed him to the nearest hospital, but despite their efforts, he didn't survive. Detectives quickly detained one person at the scene for questioning, but police made it clear this was officially being treated as a homicide. They also confirmed there was no ongoing threat to the public, but behind closed doors, tensions were already building. The streets wanted answers. At first, the news sounded like another tragic case of domestic violence, but the deeper you looked, the stranger it got. The victim was identified through word of mouth long before the police made it official local. Rapper T-Hood, an up-and-coming talent out of Atlanta who had been slowly building a name for himself. Known for remixing popular tracks and creating his own street anthems, T-Hood had been on the grind, performing at clubs, dropping videos online, and earning a loyal fan base. His sudden death hit hard for those who knew him, but the real twist came when people realized who he had been dating. Kelsey Frost, also known by her stage name Frosty The Snow Bunny, the daughter of Kirk Frost from Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta. Kelsey wasn't just a reality TV offspring trying to live off her father's fame. She rapped, she performed, and she carried her own following. This wasn't some nameless couple in a quiet suburb. This was a pairing that had the kind of public profile that made the story blow up instantly, but the relationship between T-Hood and Kelsey wasn't as picture-perfect as it may have looked on social media. According to multiple street sources, the two had been arguing more and more in recent weeks. On the night of the shooting, word is that the argument escalated beyond words. Somewhere in the chaos, Kelsey called in her family, but not the little brother who was already living in the house. The word is she reached out to the older brother, the one who had already had bad blood with T-Hood. People say T-Hood had gotten into it with one of her brothers before heated words, maybe even a physical fight, and there was still unresolved tension. This time, when the brothers arrived, the tension exploded into violence. Witness accounts differ, but the street version of the story says both brothers may have been involved in the shooting. Some even claim that after the shots were fired, no one in that house called 911, not Kelsey, not her brothers, nobody. Instead, someone outside of the immediate scene, a friend or another family member, was told about what happened, and they were the ones who contacted the police. That meant precious minutes ticked by while T-Hood lay bleeding, and by the time help arrived, it was too late. By the next morning, the whispers on the block had already turned into full-blown theories. Every conversation in the barbershop, every group chat, every DM was carrying the same question: who actually pulled the trigger on T-Hood? The official police report stayed tight-lipped, only saying that the case was an open homicide investigation, and one person had been detained, but the streets claimed to know more. Some said the little brother was the first to get physical, throwing punches after an argument over how Kelsey was being treated. The story goes that his pride got the best of him. He couldn't let it slide, so he left the house, called in the big brother, and came back armed. That's when things went from heated words to gunfire, 5 shots, fast, cold, no warning. And just like that, the rising career of T-Hood ended in silence. The coldest part, according to people who say they were there, wasn't even the shooting, it was what happened after. Instead of calling Gwinnett County Fire Rescue immediately, the scene allegedly froze in a mix of panic and defiance. No one rushed to stop the bleeding. No one grabbed a towel or tried to keep him conscious. The ones who should have been dialing 911 first didn't move. It took an outside call from someone who wasn't even inside the house for the police to be alerted. By the time officers arrived and T-Hood was transported, his injuries were too severe. Word of this hit social media fast, and outrage started pouring in. People couldn't believe that someone could be left to die like that, especially when family members were right there. Screenshots of Kelsey's past posts with T Hood started circulating alongside angry captions and hashtags demanding justice. Behind the scenes, detectives were piecing together the timeline. They were interviewing witnesses, pulling phone records, and checking any security cameras in the area that might have caught cars arriving or leaving the scene. Meanwhile, the public was busy pointing fingers. Some believed Kelsey herself might face charges, especially if it turned out she made the call that brought her brothers into the fight. Others thought the brothers would take the fall, with Kelsey distancing herself in the days ahead. And then there was another layer. Those who knew T Hood personally began talking about how much tension had been building between him and parts of Kelsey's family long before that night. They painted a picture of a relationship under constant pressure where any argument could pull in relatives who didn't mind escalating things. This wasn't just about one bad night. People were starting to see it as the end result of something that had been brewing for a while. In the days that followed, Gwinnett County stayed on edge. The official statement from the police didn't reveal much, but the streets wouldn't stop talking. Every new rumor added fuel to the fire. Some claimed the big brother had already been arrested. Others swore it was the little brother who had been taken into custody. And then there were whispers that Kelsey herself might be facing charges for her role in setting the night's events in motion. No one outside the investigation knew for sure, but one thing was certain: T Hood was gone, and nothing would bring him back. His family, friends, and fans were left mourning a life that had been building towards something bigger. The tributes online poured in, from clips of him performing to personal stories about his loyalty and energy. His music suddenly felt heavier, every lyric sounding like a piece of him that had been left behind. But beyond the music, this tragedy sparked a bigger conversation. People started talking openly about how dangerous domestic disputes can become when the wrong people get involved. T Hood's case became a grim example of how quickly a heated argument can spiral out of control when tempers and pride take over. Kelsey's relationship with him had been under strain, and instead of cooling off or stepping away, someone made a call that changed everything. Instead of reaching out to someone level-headed, someone who could talk things down, the choice was to bring in family members who were already carrying anger toward T Hood. And in that moment, the focus shifted from resolving the fight to proving a point. That choice didn't just end the argument, it ended a life. Streetwise voices and community leaders began reminding people to be careful who they involve in personal issues. The advice was simple but powerful: don't call the hot-headed cousin, the friend who always brings a weapon, or the relative who feels like they have to defend you by any means. Call someone who can think clearly in the heat of the moment. Call someone who will stop a fight, not start one. Because the reality is, many couples argue and then get back together a few days later. But once someone has been seriously hurt or, worse, killed, there's no going back. Now, T Hood's name is being spoken in past tense, his dreams cut short. Kelsey and her family will forever be connected to the night he died, whether the courts find them guilty or not. And for those who knew him, the pain isn't just about losing a rapper. They lost a brother, a son, a friend. His story has now become a warning, told in every conversation about love, pride, and the split-second choices that can destroy lives.